Hey, everybody. I know this is crazy. I am back. You are listening to Screw Pop Culture on radio KSCR. We're coming back with a whole new format. And today, I'm super stoked because we've got Andrew Salgado with us today to talk about his music, talk about what happened during COVID and how he and I are both adjusting to this post-COVID world. We're also going to dump into some music and even get a live performance. So stay tuned and welcome again back to Screw Pop Culture on radio KSCR. Hey, Andrew, thanks so much for taking the time out to talk with us today. Let's just hop into it.
Sure.
First of all, what have you been up to in the last couple of years?
My God. In the last couple of years, a lot of sitting on a couch, scared, not scared, scared, not scared, scared, not scared, scared, not scared, then scared, not scared. And just kind of just flipping back and forth, like, do I leave the house? Do I not leave the house? But the last 2 months, we finally released the new album, which I was really excited to do, year and a half ago, and been on a press tour. So it's been really fun, like getting back out there. And it's interesting, as I've gone to so many different states now, I've seen so many different reactions to being at a live show where you have a whole bunch of people wearing masks, and then you have a whole bunch of people not wearing masks, and then you have a whole bunch of people, wanting it to be outside, inside, and just a whole bunch of different things. But it really does feel nice to be back to performing and entertaining, and for me,
Yes.
Even since I was I think 6 years old, I think I started making shows for my parents. You'd have to ask them, but I think it was early on where I would design tickets and I would force them to sit down in the living room, and I just entertain, so watching people smile and just entertaining, that's such a huge part of who I am. So just to be able to do that in whatever capacity just feels really good.
That's great. And it's so good to hear, especially that you're back out touring and kind of being out into the world. Now, one of the things that everybody has talked about, especially when it came to COVID, was before COVID, there was all these memes. Could you live out in the cabin in the woods by yourself with no cell phone, blah, 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 for X amount of dollars? You've seen them. We've all seen them. We all know the meme. Having to now do that a little bit of some sorts. What is your take on that whole idea? And here's another thing is how, especially because COVID drug out so long, how did that writing process go for you? And how did you get kind of antsy and cabin feverish, or did you get super creative?
I got extremely antsy. It was a really difficult time for my fiance to be around me at times because we would start to talk about touring, and we would start to, plan some stuff here and there and get ideas, and then it wouldn't work. And then I remember we were like, okay, well, we'll go into the studio August 2020. That obviously didn't work. And then we'll go in January, we'll do this. And then we decided to do a virtual tour. And I remember saying, well, how do you, what do we charge? How do we help the venues who are about to close and the nonprofits who need help? How do we combine it all together? And just when you think you learned something, I think we all can say this, you realize you don't know anything, and it continues to evolve and change. But the writing process was real interesting. I mean, if there was no pandemic, this album would have sounded completely different because it was written in 3 stages, and it wasn't really designed to do that. I was coming off a really bad breakup where I thought I was going to be with someone for a very long time, and it didn't work out. And so you have songs like Learning How to Forget and Why Didn't I Call You, and stuff that fits into that world. But as the pandemic went on so long, I started finding new love and then self-love. So you have a breakup phase, you have a new love phase, and you have a self-love phase that all kind of went into one album. And I think one of the reasons people like it, or at least the ones who tell me they like it, I haven't heard anyone who's told me that they haven't liked it, but I doubt they would do that to my face, is that different kind of flavor throughout the record where it's not really one thing.
Well, that's great, because that's typically when an album can tell a complete story, or at least you can see the progression through an album. Right. There is nothing like, those are the best albums because you really get invested and you almost feel like there's a character in this story throughout the album, and you're like, okay, I feel exactly where they are right at this point, or right at this point, or this is where I'm at in the journey, and this song fits right now. So that's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I did an interview in Cleveland, and she had gone through a breakup too. So we were talking about learning how to forget, and that was like the second day, like the press tour. So it was instant. I was like, yeah, like nobody really does. Like you have to learn how to forget someone to be able to really move on when they're that kind of a state. You know, when you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody. You know,
Yes.
there's a lot of other relationships where maybe you don't have to work that hard to kind of move on. But it's just really, really nice to see people that have the same story here and there, which is great.
Yeah, everybody is looking for something that they can grasp onto to say, yes, this person gets me.
Yeah.
Which is, like I said, especially this album having so many different phases to it, there
Yep.
isn't a part of it that somebody can't feel like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. This song was written for me. This is my jam because this is where I'm at in life.
Yeah. And if you would have told me, 2 years ago that would have been the outcome, I probably would have been okay with it. But there's a lot of not knowing with that. And I think one of the nice things that I was able to continue to do is I would have these no technology days, and I would just grab a pen and paper and a guitar. And my future wife just hated it because like the house would be just dark. And so I would just be writing from like, I think it was like 10 a.m. to like 6:30, like when she got back home. And like, I wouldn't turn any lights on because I was just writing song after song and just living in this world. And that really kind of helped me get through everything.
Wow, that sounds amazing as an exercise. Even I would recommend any artist do something like that because it seems like
I would recommend turning a light on because there would be so much sun. Well, there would be so much sun during the day, and then I would get so engraved with what I was doing that I would look up and she'd be home, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, came home to just a dark house."
Yeah, but the electricity bill had to be super low at those days.
On those days, yeah, that's another way that we got through it. We were able to save just so much on our ComEd bill.
Let's talk about the tour.
Sure.
Now, and then let's kind of dive into touring and what that's been like now, because I can imagine not only with looking at the audience being different, but looking at you as a performer doing such a kind of personal album. Like how is all of this like affecting you?
When I first got out there, I was really nervous to play these songs because that was the opportunity to really see it. When you release it and you're watching the streams come in and all that kind of stuff, you don't really know. You get a couple of messages, but like I said, you get all the good ones. I don't think I'm at a state where I'm going to start seeing all the negative ones. I think that comes as you continue to stay in it and grow. But going out, I remember like April 8th was like the first day of like playing live in front of anybody. And I remember just like not knowing how to do a set list because I was like, man, do I really want to play Breathe? And do I really want to play Why Don't I Call You? Like, if I do play these songs, I have to tell the story behind them. Like, I have to, like, there's more to what I'm doing now as far as explaining some of these songs than there ever really was, because that never really was my thing. I would just kind of like perform and let the song kind of, do it for it. And you can't do it with some of these songs. And particularly this album. And it was really nice seeing just people talk about it. And we did a vinyl record for the first time, which we've never done before. And we played in a lot of vinyl stores across the country. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And at times I found myself busking because I had been in an area that I hadn't been for a very long time or hadn't even been ever. And we're just out there. And the excitement of just, what was interesting about this last tour was it was everything. It was playing in front of people in normal settings and then playing in front of people in like the busking, like nobody knows who you are kind of stage. So I got every flavor And I was doing sometimes about, 3 or 4 performances a day, depending on where we were and what we were trying to accomplish that day. So it really was fun at times. I remember I forgot where it was. I think I was in Fort Worth for the first time because I'd never been to Texas besides this year. And I was there for 2 weeks, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. And I remember like just like busking, and I had this small little amp and I put it out and I watched the people come over, and I forgot the joy of when you're like starting off of like strangers just like this. And
And
then
then
all
you're
of
like,
a sudden,
oh,
kind of like turning to be like, well, what's going on over there? And like, engaging with it, which was really cool. And it was hilarious because it was easy to tell the people that were coming up to you, and they were throwing money in the case. And at this point, we're taking anything we can get.
right.
And so, I didn't even tell anyone like, well, you don't have to do that. Cause I was like, no, actually that's, gas is $8. So we're going to take whatever you put in here. But there was an old man sitting on a bench, like maybe 20 feet from me, maybe less. And like at the end, he actually came up and went, I stayed here the whole time just to listen. And I thought he hated it because he would like never look at me. He was just sitting there like this the whole time. And you never know how people take in music. So even that was a enjoyable experience for me.
Yeah, I'm one of those weird people that I won't keep my arms folded, but I am the keep my eyes closed, and I'm just
Yeah. The
in the
no contact
moment.
people. There are people who sit in the front row. Like I didn't know about this until I've, done it for over 12 years, where like some people sit in the front row and get awkward looking at you. And
Right.
like instantly, it took me a long time to realize everyone takes in the show their own way. Like no one's going to sit in the front row because they don't want to be there. But it took me a long time because I was just like, oh man, like this person right here, just, I mean, can I do anything, to engage her? So I would look and I play around, and then, I'd look and I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll like, get her to sing something. And then I realized at the end of the show, when she was the first person in like the meet and greet, and she's like, I need you to sign this. And this is, I've been listening. I was like, I wanted to say like, I thought you hated the whole show. I had no clue you even liked anything. And it took
Right.
me a while to realize that that's a thing for some people.
Yeah, it is. That's always my thing about concert tickets.
Mhm.
I don't even see the point in buying good seats anymore. It's like, why? I'm going to spend, if
Yeah.
they're doing a good job, I'm going to spend most of it with my eyes closed, just in the moment. So
Right.
I don't need to spend all that money on like the
Yeah.
best seats. I can get some decent seats where the where it sounds great, and just
Yeah.
kind of
I've
groove
been
and be.
I've been I've been so spoiled that it's really hard for me to go see a concert far away. Like I used to do that when I was a lot younger, and now watching so many shows from the side of the stage, it's like so
You're
difficult for me to
ruined.
go like, oh man, do I know anybody here? Like maybe we can go stand on the side, or it's I've been very, very spoiled. I need to get back to that because there's a beauty in sitting in those lawns too, and just being able to relax, it's almost like you're sitting in a living room and there's someone else just kind of playing
Yeah.
far away.
No, I love it. I love it. And that's so great that you got to have that interaction of both,
Right.
being at a show and then being just, hey, I'm outside playing, and
Right.
yes, please put money in my guitar case. I'm
Yeah.
good with
In
that.
98-degree Texas weather. But it was good because
Maybe-
I needed to lose a lot of weight. So the tour was one great step into like losing weight. Everywhere we went, everyone said, this is the hottest it's ever been. And so I was just like, that's great.
You're
And
like, I'm
I
just
wear
bringing
all
it with
black.
me. Oh. So in this time, what has been the oddest place that you played? Because I figured by this point now, it's got to be people have gotten creative.
Well, actually, the oddest place that was years and years ago was a stairwell. So I forgot. It's been so long that this might have been like 2012, but I remember like something happened, and like they weren't able to do the show, and my, for lack of a better word, stupidity was just like, oh, put them in here because we can sit people up on the stairs and like below, and I'll sit here. It was like the dumbest thing maybe I've ever done, but also like one of the weirdest, coolest thing that's ever happened because the acoustics in like a stairwell are just fantastic. So I would sing and it would just carry everywhere that needed to be. And I don't think anything's going to ever top that. That's pretty weird up there.
That is
I
wild.
still, for for whatever the reason, maybe someone will message me one day like, I was there, this is what happened, but I have no clue why we went in there. I just remember that we did. It's,
You know what I love is how you just said, you know what, I can play in the stairwell. That is a sign of a true artist. You're like, I'll just play stairwell. That's fine.
yeah,
Fire hazard, no big deal.
I was in Illinois one time, in Darien, Illinois, and the sound went out. So I said, everyone just make a circle. It was a little festival Wednesday night concert series, and I just played in the middle of the circle, and then the acoustic guitar broke. And I asked someone if anyone had a guitar, and someone went to their house. It happened to be like 5 minutes away, and they brought another guitar, and I just kept playing. It like made some kind of paper. It was on like the patch.com or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
If people are there, then I want to keep it going. And while I didn't have a guitar for that like 10, 15-minute things, I was just telling jokes. They were horrible jokes, but people were laughing with it. So just go with it.
Because they probably were like, this is so absurd almost. Right. But if he's gonna sit here and play with us, I'm gonna sit here until he decides to go home.
It helps that it was a free concert. You can get people to stay when nobody's paid anything.
See, and that's funny because I would think the opposite, because they're like, well, I didn't pay for this, I can go home now. But the fact that they were willing to stick it out, it's like, no, I'm going to stick it out. That's a testament to you as an artist. So that's great.
Yeah, I did a free show at a restaurant in Dallas, Texas. And I remember I don't think it was the owner, but like whoever ran the event came up and said, everybody loves what you're doing. And it was like right in between a song, and everyone could see me because it was 50, I think maybe 50, 60 people, something like that. And so I said, yeah, because they didn't pay anything. No one's going to say that it's horrible.
Right.
So then I ended up playing like an extra 30 minutes than I was like supposed to. And it turned into like a little show. It was just fantastic.
That is so cool. I love it. I love how willing you are to play and how receptive everybody is to having you play. And you're just like, okay, I can play right here. I can play right now.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything, I really don't think there's a bad show. Like, I don't really know what it is, but the minute I get on stage, nothing can bother me because in the rest of my life, like everything gets to me. But like, I mean, I've had so much go wrong on stage, and I just keep going, and I think as long as you're there and you're authentic and you really love, like, I really love what I do. I really love to play and sing and to entertain people, and even just making you laugh. It's just, and there's a thing for me there. So I'll always just continue to do it. It's never really been any other focus for me than just to continue to do it. So if something goes wrong, just go with it, and if the audience is going with it, I almost always continue to go. More times than not, people have to tell me to stop than really like, can you keep going kind of thing.
The manager's in the back like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, or curfew. I didn't know what like curfew was for a long time because I've only, headlined here and there. And I remember they were like, well, if you play past a certain time, they're going to fine you. And so like, I didn't know that was a real thing. But that's a thing that hopefully one day I can afford, just go like, keep it going.
That's all right.
Have a manager back there just writing a check, just, like every like 10 minutes.
That is hilarious. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about the future. Aside from touring and finishing out the tour, what do you have planned next? Is there going to be a follow-up album?
Yeah,
not as personal.
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing about really pulling and placing it on a piece of paper is a very beautiful thing for me. And I've been a songwriter since 2008 full time, and I think this is the most I've ever just thrown right from a heart without really I wasn't even really worried about commercialism. I had some songs that went past the 330 mark, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. And if you look at 86 Volume 1, almost nothing goes past the 330 mark. And you look at absolutely everything when I wrote it with Moose, that was the mentality of, you never know what's going to be a single. Let's put the best songs that we think people are going to want to listen to. This album was not made that way. This album was made of, let's put the songs that I feel the deepest about. I mean, I had to fight to get 2 of those songs on with the label, because I remember they were like, well, I don't really think this song, fits. And I was like, but I need to say it. So like, it needs to go in, like it's going to go in, unless you're going to come down here and record something else. I'm going to perform it and produce it. So like, it's going to happen,
Yeah.
and it, 2 of the songs that have a potential for radio, one's on radio right now, which is insane to think about, on the Music Row charts, was even more insane to think about, is because of that. So what was nice about what happened in the last 2 months was I've already been green light to write another album, which is fantastic. I mean, that's every artist's dream, to know you're going to get more work eventually. It might not be for like a year and a half. It might, whenever that comes, it comes, but to know it's going to be there. And you've been in this for a long time too, to know that that's a big win for us.
Yeah, that's
some of that stress away. But I do think that I'll write it not necessarily similar, but honestly, and really try to even see if there's another gauge I can pull into.
Okay, that's great. Wow. Congratulations on that. That is awesome. Let's start with that. Congratulations, especially greenlit for another album is fantastic.
Right, yeah.
That is. So here's something that I want to know. What is, out of everything that you've written that's been released, we'll say,
sure,
what is your favorite song?
Oh man,
of yours? Yeah.
Every year you ask me, it's going to be a different answer.
Right.
You're asking me in June of 2022. Want that on the record. Learning how to forget.
Learning how to forget.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's because of how much it helped me, and it really kind of helped me move on, and kind of realize how difficult that is, and how I wake up every morning, with an open-ended prayer and no regrets, and kind of really like staying with it. And I mean, there was a time back in 2019 where like I didn't even want to leave, my bed. I was that kind of demoralized into like, I just don't think like I want to do any of this. And in order to pull yourself out, you have to reach inside. And so I think today, like, especially from playing it for 2 months, and I've gotten to play a lot of these songs. They're all your children, number one. At certain times you talk about certain songs, like if they're going to college tomorrow, you're really like proud. So learning how to forget is the most favorite today, but that doesn't mean that's not going to change in 2 months. You start playing new songs and playing Lipstick Stains live after radio stations have been playing it. It's like a whole new thing. And even rehearsing it with the band next week, after Father's Day, which is what I'm here for. That's a whole nother thing too. It brings like new life. And sometimes after you do a show, and I know I'm dragging this question out, but sometimes
no.
Sometimes a certain song goes over so well, and all of a sudden you're like, man, maybe I should play that. And one of the songs that really surprised me from the last tour on people's reaction was a Latin country kind of a song called Breathe, because I was very, very nervous to play it. I even, like, the first time I like made a speech to like warn everyone up. I was like, look, I'm half Puerto Rican, half Italian. I don't speak Spanish. I'm never going to. My parents were always like, you're American. My grandfather drove a truck for a living. It's a huge influence on my life and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I was like, but I did write this song, and it's about anxiety and not feeling like you're good enough, and learning that all you got to do is breathe. And I like set it up perfectly. And then like the next night, I didn't set it up perfectly, and it was the same response. And then I just kept playing it, and I saw that people liked it, and it didn't matter that it was a little Latin-y right here or there. So that can kind of like re-energize you into performing something. And then all of a sudden my performance now with those songs that have that reaction gets even better. And then it just kind of like cycles back and forth between the audience and myself.
That is such a good answer. I love it. And it wasn't lengthy. It was great. It was perfect.
No, it was pretty lengthy. getting me to like stop talking. That's the Italian side of me. You know, the Puerto Rican side's really quiet. You don't even know when he's there. But the Italian side never shuts up.
So let's talk about your song on the radio and what that experience was like hearing it the first time. Let's be honest, hearing it the 100th time.
I mean, it was interesting because, you know, they don't show the top 200 charts to everyone unless you're like one of us. They show the top 80 like in the magazines and stuff like that.
Right.
And I've been working on my weight when I was on the tour, and my manager came into the hotel room and said, "You're 168." And I was like, "No, I'm like 205, like 204. Like I have a lot more to go, and I don't even want to get to 168. Like 180 is kind of like, you know, 185 is kind of my goal." And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And so she's like, "No, Lipstick Stains is on the charts." And then, you know, I had a moment of just like, no, you know, like let me take a look at this piece of paper and all this other stuff, and like let me dissect it. And then after 20 minutes of like staring at something, like I just kept looking for something to be wrong, and I'm like, yeah, that can't be right. You know what I mean? And then the, you know, the realization of it, and you know, getting asked to do interviews and radio interviews and podcasts and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just amazing. You know, it's still hard for me to believe people want to hear me talk, but I'm happy to do it. And you know, to see people liking the song and listening to it, I mean, that's a whole really kind of very surreal kind of joy. So it feels great.
I love it. I love it.
I'll play "Learning How to Forget" because you asked me what my favorite song was. It only makes sense to like play it. I start in the morning with an open-ended prayer and no regrets. I'm closing the story, even though we have a couple chapters left. There's no way to practice. I just take it day by day. Learning how to forget. Thought it would be easy, but you can't take a memory back. I try to deny it, but my heart won't let my mind forget. The color of your dress, your eyes, your hair, the way your lips felt. Learning how to forget. Your name, the pain, the memories, the days that I thought you'd come back to me. Learning how to forget. I start in the morning with an open-ended prayer and no regrets. Closing the story, even though we have a couple chapters left. Learning how to forget.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And yes, that is such a good song. And there's so many people who are like, I feel that. I feel that song.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, It's a real cool way, I think, that it captures the emotion because it doesn't have that sad kind of music behind it. So you're really able to listen to the lyric in a very pleasant way, and it really does hit you, and just how hard it is to forget someone. You know, their dress, you know, their lips, all that kind of stuff.
That's probably one of the most realistic couple of days after breakup songs. Like,
Yeah,
to me,
thank you.
that is the month after where you're like, okay, I'm over
It was a
this.
month. It was a month after.
Oh, it does.
It,
It is the month after song where you wake up and you're like, okay, I've got to get over this now, and I need to start getting back to normal.
right. It took me a long time to finish it, but the original idea came. It just like I remember sitting down going like, man, I'm learning how to forget somebody, right? Because nobody can teach you it. You have to figure out your own way to do it.
Right. So let's talk about where people can find you and your socials and
Yeah.
all the things, because right now, because of COVID, social media became all of our lifeline to figuring everything out.
Social media and Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. There's like 15 streaming. Like whenever me and Autumn want to watch like a movie, it takes like 40 minutes just to go through the streaming things to look at the movies, right? So
Yes.
yeah. So you know, people can. Here's a nice segue. People can find me at andrewsalgado.net, N-E-T. They can go on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, which is something that we started doing. I don't understand it, but we started doing it. Maybe I'll figure it out by the time it's like no longer viable. And I'll start really getting into the swing of things. But it's just at Andrew Salgado, Salgado.
Andrew, thank you. How about this? I would love for this show to end with you playing another song if possible.
Okay. If only I was holding a guitar and it was just that simple.
I mean, really, I should have prepped you for that, right?
To just kind of go into another one, right?
Right.
I got your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. Such a good reminder that I'm yours always. And I love the way you claim me, and you tell the whole wide world that your lipstick stains are on my t-shirt, babe. You can always have me anytime you want. That's why you can't help it when I'm gone too long. I need your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. Everywhere I go, people see it and say, man, he must be loved by one hell of a girl who put her lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. Our love will never fade every single day. That's why you can't help it when I'm gone too long. I need your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. Your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. This is what you do when you don't have a band behind you. I got your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. I think about it daily, and I needed to say that you're the only one who I'll ever need. Lipstick stains on my t-shirt from. You can always have me anytime you want. That's why we can't help it when I'm gone too long. I need your lipstick stains on my t-shirt, babe. Your lipstick stains on my t-shirt.